Hello.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It is 2022.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. 2021 ended not so great for me, but the very end, last night. We're recording on the very first day of 2022.
Yes.
But it started out New Year's Eve with the food poisoning, but I ended up having a good time regardless. I felt better by the end of the night, so that was good.
Way to pull through.
Yeah, you gotta keep on trucking.
I did not do a thing. Joe had to work. He went in at 11 o'clock that night, and they got home this morning at 7:30. So I welcomed in New Year's with my dogs and cat.
And some really good looking apple slices.
Yeah. I had apples and peanut butter and sparkling grape juice.
That is
a child.
You know what? I would have preferred it. Oh, I also had $500 bottle of
you
champagne.
Opened it?
We did. We drank it.
Your retirement out the window.
You know what? It was actually very good. So my mom had this Dom Perignon in her basement for like ever. It's from 1995. I looked it up. It was a $500 bottle. Am I going to sell it? No, I'm too lazy. So we drank it on New Year's Eve and it was very good. It tasted like, I don't know, it tasted like the sensation of vanilla ice cream.
How beautifully worded.
I know. I should be a wine connoisseur.
You should.
But it was good. So I did not use my fantastic Christmas gift that you got me, but I will be using it soon. Jennifer got me this beautiful little wine cup, and it has the name of our podcast on it, which is Haunted or Hoax, which we haven't said yet today.
But hey, hi, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. So it's very cute and I love it. But yes, it's Haunted or Hoax.
That is where you're at right now.
Yep.
I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Kristen, if we haven't said that before. And yeah, if you're coming in right at 2022 and you decided to start with this episode and not the first episode, what we do is we take haunted places, haunted ghost stories. I do the paranormal experiences, the kind of rumors and legends behind what makes this the most haunted insert place here in America or the world. And then Jennifer goes in and goes diving into the archives and libraries and finds the history, and we see if anything matches up.
Yeah. And we try to kind of keep separated from the others topics so that it is kind of a blank slate. It's been a lot of fun kind of comparing notes. And then also once a month, our goal is to go and meet up in person to a city and do a ghost tour, kind of get the local legend, pick one or a few, and then do the same thing. See if we can figure out the history behind it, if there's any merit to it, and then give you all the details.
Yeah. And that's been fun. We did our first one in St. Augustine, Florida. We're excited to go to many, many different places in 2022. Today's story, however, is actually going to be a throwback to a place close to my hometown in Maryland. So that's kind of exciting. It's excited for me.
I didn't realize how close it was to Salisbury until I looked on a map and I was like, oh, well, it's like actually right across the river.
Well, yeah, but it's actually even closer to where I grew up in Anne Arundel, Calvert County, Maryland. It's in St. Mary's. That's where actually a lot of my family lives. It's about an hour and a half away from Chesapeake Beach, which is exciting.
Had you heard about this before?
I have not heard about this. It's actually a suggestion that came from my dad, my biological dad, Jeff, not my stepdad, Joe. I already made that mistake before, but my biological dad, Jeffrey, suggested this. He was like, you should check out this lighthouse. And apparently it's literally called the most haunted lighthouse in America. And I had no idea that it was like an hour away. I would have gone.
Who gives out these titles? Do they have like award ceremonies like the Grammys?
The ghosties.
Maybe. I'd love to see the trophy. Can we make that a thing?
Yes, we'll have our own ghosties at the end of the year. That's our goal for 2022. I'm
gonna add that to the list.
But I don't know. It popped up everywhere I Googled the most haunted lighthouse in America. I feel there might be one or two more that are more haunted, but we'll see.
The lighthouse in St. Augustine seemed very haunted.
Yes. Yeah. We already covered a very haunted lighthouse. So
Yeah. But this one is, to give you the specifics of where we're going to be, Point Lookout Lighthouse in Maryland.
Mhm.
And it did not look like a typical lighthouse to me. Like I was expecting, long, tall tower. It was not. It was like
A little
somebody built a
house.
house and then decided to put a light on top of it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. It's a
cute.
very, very cute, quaint little lighthouse. And it has a lot of things going on that I can't wait to tell you about.
Well, do it. Tell me all about it.
Do it right now.
Right now.
Okay. Well, so like I said, it is in St. Mary's County, in a place called Scotland, Maryland. Like I said, I've never been to this lighthouse or state park that I remember. I would like to, I'd like to preface that, go back and correct a little bit. I don't remember going to this place. It could be that my parents took me here when I was little and I have no recollection, but my adult mind has never been here. I just have like a baseline for the timeline of the lighthouse, which was built in 1830. I also know it was involved in the Civil War as either a prisoner camp or a hospital. I'm not really sure which. There was kind of, or if it was both, or if it was an actual like base camp of some sort. All I saw was that it housed some sort of soldiers in the Civil War era.
I cannot wait to tell you all about that. I'm glad that you don't know anything.
Yeah, I try to keep it really vague. I used a lot of resources for my research, Southern Maryland Chronicle, Point Lookout, Lighthouse.com, the Baltimore Sun. I used two books that my dad actually got me for Christmas, which are Haunted Southern Maryland by David W. Thompson and Haunted Maryland, Ghost and Strange Phenomena of the Old Line State by Ed
Whoa.
Okonowicz.
Whoa.
Hard title and hard name.
That
And
means it's
then
extra reliable.
exactly. And then also the Bay Weekly.com, which the Bay Weekly I interviewed for a job position there in my early 20s when I thought I was going to be a journalist. They did not have a full-time position and I was very poor, so I couldn't take it.
Oh, how neat would that have
But
been though? Like
it
full
would have
circle.
been, oh, I was so heartbroken because the position that they offered was just like, it was just too little hours
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to survive. So I was heartbroken though. I really liked the staff and everything. So I used them for
How
part of my
neat.
research and kind of, yeah, a little connection. But my part really starts with Dr. Han Holzer, who is a paranormal researcher who in the 1980s did a fantastic amount of research on the lighthouse. Like we know how I'm always complaining about lack of evidence and how I am now the ghost auditor.
You have the receipts this time.
I do. I have so many receipts. My eyes got so big and my heart got so full about how much evidence is here with this lighthouse. Holzer himself has recorded 24 separate EVPs ranging from footsteps banging on walls to voices. Most of those EVPs from his original research are private, or at least I haven't been able to find his personal specific ones online. His research has sparked, however, research to be done by other paranormal investigators. And the Point Lookout Lighthouse.com has actually a whole page of EVPs from the early 2000s to about 2010. And there are a lot of pictures on this website too, which I'm really excited to show you, ranging from the 1980s to 2009. One of the most notable EVPs is supposedly from Ann Davis, who I read was either the wife of the first official lighthouse keeper, or she was the first woman appointed as the lighthouse keeper for this location. There's like conflicting stories. Either way, the EVP from Han Holzer is said that you can hear her saying, "This is my house."
Mm.
Unfortunately, I cannot find that EVP from his original investigation. It's not on the website, but there is a male EVP that I tried playing for you earlier, but that's a pterodactyl one that says "my home."
Mm.
So that might be her husband. It might be a different lighthouse keeper that had lived there. I haven't found hers, but I did find a mail that says my home. And if you listen to it with headphones, it does sound like he's saying my home. Anne was apparently found in the lantern room, dead after completing one of her daily routines. I did not find a date of when she died or how old she was when she had died, but she supposedly died in the lantern room on the property of the lighthouse. She can also be seen standing at the top of the staircase wearing a white blouse and blue skirt. Going back to the Civil War connection, I've read some, like I said, I read some conflicting things, which is why I'm not totally sure that there's involvement or how big of involvement of the Civil War is on the property. Some say it was a camp, like I said, and some say it was like a hospital that held mostly prisoners. One of the most frequent ghost sightings at Point Lookout is a man in Civil War clothing. He's seen moving across the road away from what is supposedly a smallpox unit. Yeah. And then it's said that the gaunt ghost shambles across the road, reeking of mildew and gunpowder. And there are a lot of ghostly, haunting smells associated with this place, like mildew and gunpowder, and like a stench that seems to waft through the lighthouse that I've read. And I would like to say, no shade, because I've lived there, the Chesapeake Bay is very stinky. For everybody who goes to Maryland out of town and you're like, what's that smell? It's Maryland, because the Chesapeake Bay is just, it has a certain stench to it at certain times of the day. And a lot of Southern Maryland is swampland.
Well, I was looking through pictures of Point Lookout and I saw like one of the Google images that somebody uploaded were people like in the water. Mm-hmm. And I was like, isn't it a general like rule of thumb not to get in the water?
Yeah, no. Like don't get in the water.
The general consensus is you don't want to get in the Potomac.
Yeah, no, the Potomac, the Chesapeake Bay, especially the Chesapeake Bay. Please don't get in the Chesapeake Bay. I'm like I said, no shade to Maryland. All my Maryland listeners are going to know it has seen a lot of runoff and some sewage spills in its day. When Zach and I were teenagers, we actually ran out into the bay just for fun, because I guess we thought that would be fun. And we came back like with our like clothing drenched, like covered in bay water. And his mom would not let me in the house. She made him take off all of his clothes on the back porch and like hosed him down before he could come in. That's how bad it smelled and how badly she did not want any of it.
Jody knew.
Jody knew. So when they say it smelled like mildew and gunpowder, and there's like also a very pungent sound that wafts through the lighthouse sometimes, I was like, I don't know if that's really paranormal or if that's just Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was also wearing ragged homespun clothing. It's suspected that he was perhaps a Confederate prisoner feigning illness, hoping to escape. But as ghosts run across the road repeatedly, it is doubtful he succeeded in his escape to attempt, which also kind of confused me, because I know that Maryland fought for the Union, I believe, mostly. But the Civil War was basically brother against brother. So I don't know if this camp was a Union camp or a Confederate camp, because Maryland was pretty kind of divided in my recollection of the Civil War.
I can clear that up for you.
Perfect. And there's also a lot of people saying that these screams come from Civil War Confederate soldiers. And I'm going to play this EVP in real time. Jennifer's already heard it, and it's a scream from the lighthouse, and I'll tell you what the year is and everything after. I'm more afraid of falling down the stairs and hurting myself. So that's terrifying. When I first heard that, I was like on my lunch break with my headphones in, just munching away on some oatmeal, and I was like, oh.
I hate that so much.
I'm sorry. It is a fucking loud scream, isn't it? It's very intense.
It's just like he said, don't want to fall down the stairs. And then you hear someone fall down the stairs. Like,
right. But they say that it was captured on 2 recorders. It's from a 2008 investigation. It is heard by investigators, like by like their own ears, and was caught on the device. So they heard that in real time, and you can kind of hear in the recording they like react to it. But they said that, you know, nobody was moving, nobody.
what you gonna make that noise shuffling your shoes? Like,
I don't know, but nobody fell down the stairs, so it was not a scream from any of them. You know what I'm saying?
Did they leave shortly thereafter? Because I would have been like, y'all, I'll see you in the car.
I don't know, but I would have been the same, like, no, let's leave here and never come back.
Nobody go up or down the stairs, because clearly it's bad choice.
Yeah, no. There is also a encounter with a Civil War ghost in haunted Maryland that was recorded that I'll read you real quick. It was 2 teenagers who were in a Jeep Wrangler stopped at Point Lookout State Park, I guess to stop and park or just to kind of see the place at night. They were turning around and heading north away from the point, about 100 feet from the lighthouse. After flagging down a ranger, the girlfriend in the Jeep had said someone was patrolling the lighthouse area inside the fence line. So there's a fence now that surrounds Lighthouse that you're not supposed to go into. And she had said that she had seen somebody patrolling the area. She said she saw someone inside the fence close to the lighthouse just a few minutes ago. He was wearing a dark uniform and had a small flat hat. He was pacing back and forth, carrying a long rifle on his shoulder with a long knife sticking out off the top of the gun. The ranger said that there was no one permitted inside the fenced-in area, but he also realized the young woman had accurately described a Civil War soldier on guard duty. He told the young woman, "You are not the first person to report seeing a possible ghost. I'll add this to my list of stories." So apparently Civil War ghosts are also physical apparitions at this place. You look like you have a secret. I can't wait for you to tell it to me.
I'm just saying that description was very specific.
It was very specific, but you know what? Maybe they were a young in love Civil War buff couple who just knew exactly what they were talking about.
I mean, we all know what a Civil War soldier looks like. Like,
do we?
we do.
Oh, okay.
Kristen, if I was like, hey, picture a Confederate soldier in your head or picture a Union soldier in your head, like there is an image that pops to mind. I know. Yeah. I'm just saying, everyone knows what they look like. So it wouldn't have been a thing of there was a person like patrolling the other side of the fence. It would have been there's either a ghost over there or like a crazy war reenactor hop the fence. You might want to go check that out.
This is true. I'm going to put this in our chat, a link, because going still with the Civil War era sort of thing, this is one of the pictures from the website that supposedly has captured a Civil War soldier kind of off into the side.
Oh, what is that?
That is, well, the woman is Nancy Stallings, a medium with the Maryland Committee of the Physical Research. And she is standing in the middle of the bedroom of the lighthouse. And they are saying that is a soldier apparition that is kind of running off to the side of the camera.
You can kind of see like the belt and the pants.
Yeah.
Even the wrinkles in the pants.
Yeah. So there isn't a control photo before or after this that I found in these pictures, but
when was this taken?
This was taken in
the 70s,
the 80s. Yes,
it's going
the
off
early
of her
80s.
hair.
Yeah, she does have very 70s straight bang looking hair. I really enjoy. They do say that the soldier was not seen by the naked eye. Like the participants in the room did not see this soldier. He only appeared after the pictures were developed. So very interesting. Going off of the visual phenomenon, those include orbs. Also, I will show you some of the pictures of the orbs that have been taken. There's a lot of orbs. This one is from after 1995. All of these pictures are organized 1980s, after 1995, and then the 2000s. So that one is an orb in the den area. The blurriness.
That little squiggle thing?
Yes.
So that's odd. That reminds me of a picture that I took in St. Augustine at the cemetery that had like the weird squiggle thing. I had a hair in front of my lens.
Oh, yeah, I could see that being a hair. They attribute the blurriness of the whole orb to be that the orb was in motion. They also say that the control pictures, there's no control pictures in this gallery that I could find, but they said that they did take control pictures and it did not contain the odd shaped blob, but it could be like you got that hair off. So
yeah.
And then I have a few different orbs. This one actually has an orb appearing in this picture of these nice women who were investigating. The woman in the middle, her name is Laura. I'll talk about her a little bit later, but she is the last woman who actually resided in the lighthouse as like a residence.
The last woman?
Last woman, last person.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
See that orb right there? So you have that picture. This picture was taken right after it, and the orb moves.
Oh, I wanted to be part of the photo.
I know, it's like right over her face though. It was like, get out the way. I just think it's a little bit funny that it was like illuminating her face and it's like, I'm going to be a part of this picture and be on this be in this woman's way.
Say cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Let me brighten you up a little bit. So yeah, there are a lot more orbs and spirit lights and cone-shaped orbs in this lighthouse gallery. I'll link it on our source notes, of course, and add a few more pictures to the Instagram post and Facebook just so people can see. But there's a lot of photographic evidence, which I love. A lot of sound evidence, which I love. Not a lot of video evidence, but I can't have everything, can I?
We were not able to perform a full audit today due to lack of resources.
Exactly. So with the orbs that I showed you the pictures of, like I said, people are seeing people as full-on apparitions. There's a man who stands silent on the lighthouse porch before disappearing into a wall. There's also a young boy about 8 years old that seems to interact with visitors. He is interesting because there is an EVP in Han Holzer's investigation apparently that says, "Can I play?" which would be great to listen to. I do have an EVP. So this one is a child's voice saying, "Come out and fight." So
aggressive.
So very different than playing. He got tired of saying, "Can I play?" and people saying no. He's ready to fight now. This was taken in 2010. Can you hear that over the cell phone? It's very hard. Do you hear it? Come out and fight? It's a child.
I mean, I could kind of hear it. The child doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, and which is like a little bit, not to sound like Zach Bagans, but
no, my brain was going there too. Like there's
a little creepy that a child would say, "Come out and fight." Maybe it's something else mimicking a child's voice.
Yeah, because there's no, like, not to give you any spoilers, but in the history, there's no children really tied to the lighthouse aside from the families who live there.
Yeah. There's a few children, like there's other like children laughing in here as well. And there's also a demonic spoken word, like admonishing people like to get out, that has also been recorded at the lighthouse. So it might be something else mimicking a child to make itself seem less threatening. We don't know. There is also some EVPs that can be heard saying, "Help us," or like I said, a man telling them to get off of the property, which I guess could be attributed to the older man that people see on the porch. Maybe it's an old lighthouse keeper that's like, get away from here. Like,
yeah,
get off my lawn, get out of my lighthouse. But none of them are attributed to anybody specifically. There is one EVP in these long list of EVPs. Like I said, I'll link all of these because there's so many of them. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. Let me scroll up and down until I know which one I'm looking for. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to hear that one. It's the one that's titled Water. And I was in the water, and many have attributed that to Joseph Haney. That was the second mate to the ship Express, apparently, out of Baltimore. Legend goes that there was a large storm the crew didn't realize was coming. It ripped the ship deck off and killed 16 people, including Joseph. There's also a local rumor that it did not kill him immediately. He attempted to get to shore via a rowboat after the wreck, but the storm was too strong and he perished in the water. It said during a severe storm that's supposedly coming, he'll be heard knocking on the door of the lighthouse asking for help. He's also said to appear on the beach in like wet period clothing just before the severe storm strikes. People have reported random puddles of water in the lighthouse that is attributed to Joseph, which is debatable because also this lighthouse is very old. It could just be leaky. It said that he was washed ashore and then buried on state park property, but I only read that in one place and I'm not sure the validity of that. There is someone saying, help me. Did you hear it?
No, I didn't like what I heard though. I'm like the kitchen and Ruby Tuesday.
So it says help me over and over again, which I think that they think is Joseph. Laura Berg was the last person to live alone in the lighthouse in the 1970s, the late 1970s. A lot of the pictures on the website are attributed to her, as well as a lot of the EVPs. She heard heavy footsteps outside her bedroom door. She claimed books would fly off the shelves, and there were awful smells and stenches in various rooms. Like I said, that's just Maryland.
Or maybe there's actually a demon in there because there's no children.
Oh yeah, like the sulfur. That's like attributed to demons.
Did she have any fly issues?
She did not mention any fly issues, but Laura, if you're listening, let us know.
Yeah.
The Bay Weekly said that this area was one of the first colonies in Maryland. It was settled by Lord Baltimore's brother, and he governed the colony and died tragically in the mid-30s near Lookout. It was also said his son drowned in the nearby Calvert Bay, which is very sad.
That is sad.
They're all said to be maybe contributing spirits here, but the Calvert Bay, I feel like, is a little bit too far for his son to be attributed to any sort of Point Lookout haunting. And that was the only child that I saw could maybe be a paranormal connection to the lighthouse. There is a show called The Holzer Files on Discovery Plus, which goes through Han Holzer's old cases with his daughter Alexandra. It's a pretty good show. It started in 2019. They did not do a episode on the lighthouse, unfortunately, which is really sad because I think that is one of his bigger cases. It also looks like the show is either canceled or because of COVID stalled. There's only one season and it doesn't seem like a lot of episodes for one season. So I'm wondering if they were filming and they got delayed. I hope it comes back because it was a pretty good show. And I would like them to cover this lighthouse. Selfishly, I would like you to.
We are putting in a request.
Yes. I would like to request you release your father's recordings. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up about the lighthouse is that And another request, because I'm so selfish in 2022 and I want everyone to do all the things for me, is that the Lighthouse is supposedly the inspiration for a lighthouse location in Fallout 3, the video game. I'm not entirely sure how or the details of the connection. I have not played Fallout or Fallout 3. I am a video game novice, but I have connections with a certain husband of a podcast host who has a YouTube channel that does this sort of explaining, essaying on things with video games. And so maybe one day he could do that.
I will put it out into the universe for you and see how that
I would
turns
appreciate
out.
it. I would so appreciate it. But yeah, that's all I have on like the kind of ghosty paranormal things that are going on at Point Lookout Lighthouse. I was very pleased. I was very excited to do this research because I got to look at so many things and hear so many EVPs. And I had these 2 full books of information. So my little paranormal investigator heart was satisfied this time.
You had a lot. That was good.
So yeah, I can't wait to see or hear what the history is, if there's any connections or there's no connections. I'm just excited to see what you found.
Well, I will tell you all about it after our break.
Yes, I have to go get something to drink.
We will be right back.
Be right back.
We're back.
We're back.
You ready to learn all about this thing?
I am.
Get lit at the lighthouse?
Getting lit at the lighthouse in 2022.
Well, yeah, but we're going back to 1830.
Oh, okay.
Way back in the day. So the lighthouse was established in 1830 after the federal government decided that a light needed to be there, to warn people of the shoals and also to mark the entrance to the Potomac. Mm-hmm. The original owner of the property, Jennifer Taylor, who is a man, by the way.
Ooh, a man named Jennifer.
It's the one N that gives it away.
Oh, well,
I'm just
that's a Johnny Cash song, basically. Is man named Lighthouse Keeper. Lighthouse.
That's not the name of the song.
I know, but it's the same thing. It's the same concept.
Anyway, Mr. Taylor said nah to their first offer of $500. He was like, it's not that cheap. So they went back and forth a couple of times. And after some budget adjustments, I guess construction was started before the deeds were actually obtained. So even after construction was finished, there was still like some back and forth with Mr. Taylor, and everything finally got settled and the lighthouse became operational September 30th, 1830. Mm-hmm. The keeper at the time was James Davis. However, James died December 3rd of the same year, so like only a couple months later. And it was his daughter, Anne, who became the lighthouse keeper.
Oh, okay. His daughter.
Yeah. I have a letter from PT Lookout Lighthouse.com, which is, the same source that you used. They have a tab on their website that goes through all of the lighthouse keepers on record, like the timeline. They also have actual like letters and correspondence in regards to the lighthouse. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
I really just wanted to send this to you because I loved the handwriting.
Oh, so fancy.
So in the letter, it was pretty much just, hey, you paid James $350 a year. Anne is going to take over, so you just need to pay her the same annual salary of $350 a year, which,
yes,
if you're curious how much that would be, any guesses?
$350 a year in 1830.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say $10,000.
Oh shit! Good job. It is.
Oh, is it? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm going straight to the Price is Right.
You are so good.
I'm so good at currency rate exchanges.
So
that's a lot. That's a good amount.
$10,000 a year.
I mean, in the 1830s.
In 1830, it was $350.
I mean,
in our time, if he was making the same amount in our time, he would be making $10,000 a year to watch that lighthouse.
How hard can it be to watch Lighthouse? Tell me.
That's like that's less than I was making waiting tables at Ruby Tuesday.
Listen, I'm just saying. I don't know. It is really, I think it's commendable that in this letter they say, hey, like her father died and Anna's going to take over and you like need to pay her the same. Not like saying, oh, well, she's a woman, so you can pay her a little bit less. Like,
yeah, no, Anne was actually a really stellar lighthouse keeper. She, if you look through the letters in her like time served, there was a lot of comments like when they did inspections. This was a political role, by the way, like it's part of a government job. So they had to do like regular inspections. Being a lighthouse keeper apparently is very serious. Like you have to take an oath and everything. You know, they take that job very seriously.
Yes, they do.
And if you think about it, it is a very serious job because you're essentially keeping people safe from like running ashore.
Yeah, true.
So it's important. But if you look through like inspection letters and stuff, when Anne was keeper of the lighthouse, all the comments were like, it is in impeccable condition, very clean, very kept. She does a great job. She took her work very seriously. They have a letter of her writing and complaining about some damage that was done to the lighthouse and how she absolutely needed help with the repairs. And like, it was very dramatic. Like, you'll have to,
she really drove home.
It was written in like 1800 style of this place looks like shit and you need to get on making it better.
I need some handyman out here and I'm not.
That was
yesterday.
Yeah. Well, and then when you said that you heard someone say, this is my home, like that absolutely could have been Anne because she did seem very serious about what she did. So in 1883, another story was added to the lighthouse. You know, it's a 2-story house. Another story was added to it to keep 2 keepers and their families so that they were able to kind of divide the duties that went into keeping the light, because it was very strenuous. Like someone had to be on duty at all time to make sure that the light wasn't out and to also make sure that like the weather was appropriate. Because if there was like fog, they would have to sound the alarm for fog. And back then they didn't have any of the automated systems saying, you know, hey, your light bulb went out. Like at first it was a flame.
Right. Yeah, you need to watch The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson to get the feel. Or don't, because that would be a little bit messed up.
So somebody had to be on duty at all times to make sure that the light was lit. And also if there was fog, they would have to be ringing the alarm for fog, like the fog bells, until the fog went away. So if the weather was foggy for an entire week,
they have to ring it all the time?
All the time, because I mean,
oh my gosh, that would be
there
annoying.
Might be a boat. Yeah, it would be. So the whole family, there were accounts of a woman whose family lived in the house, and she would recall the whole family being part of like ringing the fog bells if the weather got bad. So it wasn't all just, you know, sipping tea and looking out in your sweater at the bay all day.
This wasn't with Taylor Swift's Cardigan playing in the background. It wasn't like that.
I'm glad you got that. So just to kind of go through the keepers, in 1853, Richard Edwards was listed as the keeper, but he also died shortly after taking the oath. His daughter Martha assumed the duties until 1855 when she turned over the light to her sister Pamela. And then Pamela served until 1869 when the records indicated that she was removed, but no reason was given for the removal. Like I said, the keeper positions were pretty political, so you could be removed or placed kind of on a whim. And then most of the records from Pamela's term were destroyed in a fire called the Great Commerce Fire of 1921. Bummer.
Very much.
So then William Moody served 2 terms from 1869 to 1871 and then 1908 to 1912. William Yeatman also served the longest term, which was 1871 until his death in 1908. So he was like in between the William Moody 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
His son William served from 1931 as assistant keeper under George Willis until they both retired on disability in 1939. Then Robert Fulcher replaced George Willis and served until he suffered a stroke in 1942 and retired on disability in 1943. Herman Medevere served as assistant keeper from 1939 to 1943, and then as the full-time keeper from 1943 until 1954. Then George Gatton served from 1957 until October of 1965. The buoy that is there now was built in late 1965, and it has an automated light, and it was a little bit more, modern day.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, it was used in combination with the lighthouse until January 11th, 1966, when Raymond Hartzell darkened the lighthouse for the final time.
Oh.
Yeah. So obviously it had a long haul. The lighthouse was active for more than 135 years. And then once it was deactivated, the Navy purchased it in 1965. And it did remain occupied until 1981.
So it also sounds like there was a lot of women in charge.
Yeah, there were. I kind of wanted to touch base on Anne dying in the lantern room.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly there's like really good records of what happened to who when.
Mm-hmm.
It did say that Anne, like there's a ledger for payroll and it has her name, but then it has like dead written underneath it, but it doesn't give a reason. But like you have people retiring or like having strokes, and that's all documented. I feel like if there was something as serious as her like being found dead in a lantern room, it would probably be, this is just conjecture, but like it would probably be documented somewhere, especially for how much of an advocate for the lighthouse she was.
Right. And it could be that she did die on the property, since she was the sole caretaker. It might not be as dramatic as the lantern room. But she could have died on the property, or even if she didn't die on the property, she's so connected to the lighthouse that she is still there.
Right.
There are a lot of women voices, EVPs, in that like long list of catalog. So it could probably be her or any of the other women that you mentioned.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of women, but also like families.
Right.
It was a family business. I did want to point out that George Gatton, who was the individual who served from 1957 until 1965, was interviewed by a newspaper, and he did say he didn't believe in ghosts the whole time he was there. He never saw any sort of anything. He never heard anything. He's lived in that area, not just like at the lighthouse, but he's lived in that area his whole life, and he's never seen anything. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Not a sermon, just a thought.
Maybe the ghost just didn't like George.
Maybe they just knew he was not a believer. They're like, we're not going to waste our time on you.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back to the 1860s.
Okay.
We're going to delve right on into the American Civil War, which started in 1861. We have we have a good amount of listeners that are not in the US.
Yeah, we do. So I mean, this probably means nothing to you.
I'm sure that you know the American Civil War, the disaster that was the Civil War, but just to kind of give you an idea, the American Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865 and was horrendous. Terrible.
It was a big old headache for everyone involved.
It was bad. But I do want to show you this cool map I found.
Look at that.
So if you zoom, this is like an interactive map where you can like scroll and zoom and move it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's super handy. So the lighthouse is all the way on the far left. There's also a legend, like if you want to look at this outside of our recording, there's a legend at the bottom that kind of breaks down everything. But I'll give you a quick tour because I already looked through everything. So
okay.
It took I had to put it on both screens and like have the legend on the left and then the map on the right because it's kind of hard going back and forth. So the lighthouse is all the way on the bottom left, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Then that little spokes wheel looking thing,
Mm-hmm.
that is the hospital called Hammond General Hospital.
That is a huge, weird looking hospital.
Yeah, it looks like a wheel. Like it's a spokes wheel. Yeah. The main part is that big building at like, if you're looking at it like a flat clock, it would be at like 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's like the main building hospital. I'll give you kind of details about the hospital. I just want to kind of go through the high points. So then the middle part, that's like the town. And then if you keep scrolling all the way up to the very top, on the right side of the map, if you like zoom way in, it's number 56. You'll see it's like a fenced in area with a bunch of tents. You see what I'm talking about?
I go all the way up the map. Oh, yes. Yeah, I see it.
That is the prisoner of war camp called Camp Hoffman. And then if you keep on scrolling all the way up to the top where it says number 60.
Yes.
That's the smallpox center.
Oh.
And then if you go to the left where it says 59, it's like back in the forest around that curb.
Yeah.
That is the burial site for everyone.
Got you. So the smallpox center and the prison camp are very, very far away from the lighthouse.
Yeah.
The hospital is not, but
No. So present day, I'll kind of go into the details, but present day, the hospital would be where the parking lot is. And there's like a marker in the parking lot of where like the general area where the hospital would be. And then there's also a single pillar left. It was like, it's huge, but there's a single pillar left of where one of the buildings was standing. If y'all have time, you should totally check out this map because it's super cool.
It's very cool. It's very like nicely colored, and the zoom in feature is very nice because it doesn't like blur anything.
Right.
It like actually keeps everything really crisp.
Yeah. So that was actually illustrated in 1864. So like in it. So the hospital called Hammond General Hospital was constructed on pillings and had 16 buildings arranged like the spokes of a wheel with 4 small buildings in the center. It was completed in the spring of 1863 and it could handle about 1,400 patients. In the illustration, you'll see a bunch of like steamboats. They actually use those to transport casualties. It was kind of handy that they were like right on the water.
Right on the water, yeah.
So after the Battle of Gettysburg, which everybody knows about, but in case you don't, it was a 3-day long battle. It was kind of considered, it's considered the turning point of the Civil War.
Yeah, I went to Gettysburg for mine and Zach's 7-year anniversary, which is so romantic.
How romantic.
But it was actually really, really cool. I would very much suggest taking a trip to Gettysburg, not only just to go see everything. It's very like you're just right in the middle of history. But the downtown Gettysburg is super cute and it's very very charming. So
I will have to go. But the Battle of Gettysburg caused about 57,000 casualties and 7,800 deaths. I have spent my entire life thinking that casualties mean like deaths.
Right.
I don't know if you are also in the same boat as me.
Yes.
That does not mean what we think it means.
That is not the definition that they're going with.
I was reading through everything and like a lot of the places broke down. Like there were 2,800 or 28,000 casualties on the Civil War side. And then they would break it down and be like 3,000 deaths, 5,000 captures. I was like, how can there be 28,000 casualties if there were only 3,000 deaths? So I looked up the definition. The definition of casualties means they're no longer able to fight.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So my life was changed forever.
Your mind was blown.
It was blown.
Blown out.
But the actual deaths, it was 7,800 deaths like on the field. There were a lot of captures. There were also over 3,000 horse deaths, which was
that's so
very,
sad.
very sad. But yeah, it was a very bloody, bad battle. After that battle, Hammond General decided to start taking in the injured and sick Confederate prisoners as well. And the hospital soon became overcrowded. The hospital was closed in 1865 at the end of the Civil War, and the buildings were demolished. And like I said, present day, there's nothing really left except for a pillar, but you can see like the marker. And it says like this is in commemorance of the attendants of the hospital as well as the soldiers that were lost here.
That's so interesting. It's just like so weird that they would tear the whole thing. It's like a huge building.
It is
like a collection of buildings.
Big. Yeah.
So it's just so weird that they would just tear it all down.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wish it was still there so people could go through it and see this whole like how it functioned.
Mm-hmm. No, it was very big. But I guess it is like right smack in front of the lighthouse too.
Yeah, true.
If you look, there's like a fence in between the lighthouse and the hospital. Like a little fence, but then the building for the hospital, like that's number 2. That's like the dining room and kitchen is right there.
Yeah. It like juts out past the fence.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy. So you were right as far as like your confusion of was there a hospital or was it like a prisoner of war? It had both. So the prisoner of war camp was not great. Okay. Camp Hoffman. It was established as a Union prisoner of war camp for the Confederates. So this was a Union camp to hold Confederate soldiers.
It was the Union soldiers imprisoning Confederate soldiers.
Correct.
Okay.
One source I looked at said that it was only about 1,000 square feet. I don't know if that is accurate. And I only say that because 1,000 square feet is roughly the size of my 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah. Yeah. No way.
And the initial max capacity for this camp was 10,000 prisoners.
Oh, no way. Not in 1,000 square feet. That would be impossible.
Like even 10,000 square feet, that only gives each individual like literally a square foot to stand in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I necessarily believe that. In the map, it looks much bigger than 10,000 or 1,000 square feet.
Yes.
Either way, it had a listed max capacity of 10,000 prisoners. It had no permanent structures within the camp. They were only given tents year round in one blanket. Yes. So summers in Maryland aren't fun, but winters in Maryland are also not fun.
Yes. No, yeah. Winters can be like super harsh, blizzards, cold, snow, and then especially in this area in the summers, the mosquitoes are just out of control. So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So the conditions itself would have been bad for the original capacity of 10,000 individuals. However, it grew significantly from that. By the summer of 1864, the population had grown to 15,500. And then in the summer of 1865, it went up to 22,000.
Holy moly.
The total number of soldiers that the camp saw was around 53,000 in total, but the highest number that they had at one time was 22,000 soldiers. So over double the initial intended capacity. Like I said, only tents. Like there were no solid structures at all. They were only given one blanket and one bed. And other issues that they had to deal with were contaminated water. They had poor, inadequate rations. Like you said, mosquitoes were really bad, so they had to deal with malaria, typhoid fever, and also exposure. In the grand scheme of things, there were records of men literally freezing to death overnight.
That's awful.
All of these things contributed to the high death rate at the camp, and 3,584 prisoner deaths total were listed for Camp Hoffman.
Wow.
Only 50 escapes were successful on record.
That is those are some big numbers.
So if you go onto the map, like I said, the top left is where the original burial site was. Mm-hmm. In 1870, so a little while after the Civil War was over, the state of Maryland transferred more than 3,000 Confederate remains to a new site near Tanner Creek. I'm not sure where that is. The site is now known as the Point Lookout Confederate Cemetery, and unfortunately, the identification of individual remains were impossible, and they were all buried in a single mass grave.
Well, we've heard that many a time, so that's not surprising, but still disappointing. Let's do better.
Yeah. The site was marked by a 25-foot white marble obelisk erected by the state of Maryland in 1876. However, in 1910, the state of Maryland transferred ownership of the cemetery to the federal government, who then erected an 80-foot tall granite obelisk with bronze tablets listing the 3,382 known Confederate soldiers and sailors.
Wow. So they were like, forget this stupid thing that you put up. We're going to put up one.
Forget
so much bigger.
25-foot one. Here's an 80-foot tall
with bronze.
Well, yeah. And it wasn't like they actually put the names of the soldiers that were known to die. So I feel like a better, instead of saying, hey, there's these bodies here, it's, hey, there are these specific bodies here. At least they kind of have a headstone.
Yeah.
The Maryland obelisk was moved to the site of one of the original prison cemeteries. So they just kind of were like, oh, that's cute. We're going to pick this up and put this over here. The state monument returned to the Point Lookout Confederate Cemetery in 1938 when the federal government sold the other properties. So it sounds like the properties itself had a lot of exchange of
ownership and everything.
So after it sat stagnant for a little bit, there has been an initiative put together to kind of restore the lighthouse. Initially, it was only open once a month to the public, and you couldn't go in. A restoration project started in 2003, I believe. And it actually just finished in 2020.
Nice.
The goal is to have it open full time. Obviously, like COVID has kind of messed up with some things. The big plan is to have it as like a museum where people can go and visit all the time.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's all I have.
Well, I mean, that's a lot. You didn't see anything on Joseph Haney or Heaney?
No.
The shipwreck, but that was like before. It was like right as it was early 1830s. Like right as it was like constructed or something. It was very early on.
Yeah, you mentioned like you weren't sure where he was buried and stuff. If I saw the legend of him like not making it, the shipwreck like did actually happen. Like that's in a lot of articles. I don't know about the individual. I could do more research and see.
Well, I think that like as long as you like also found in your research that the crash did happen.
Yeah, no, it was a big deal.
I'm sure. Shipwrecks are no joke.
No. But from what I saw, it was like he tried, but he didn't make it.
Yeah.
To get to shore, which is unfortunate. But no, I didn't see anything like direct correlation with the lighthouse as far as that goes.
I'm looking at this ledger too, because I told you those. So Point Lookout Lighthouse is part of a bigger state park. So some of the apparitions, like the Civil War apparitions and everything attributed, I could see how, like, with the hospital being right there on top of it, like you could see some of those things. But as far as like the story about, the guy running from the smallpox unit or the prisoner camp trying to escape, that prisoner camp and smallpox unit are so far away from the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he got really far really fast.
But I mean, there is like legitimate reasoning that you would see some sort of soldiers somewhere, because that was like an established fort.
Yes.
They put 4 forts together to kind of fortify, if you will, this area. Fort Lincoln is on the other side of the little peninsula. That is still there. You can go visit. They have like reconstructed buildings to scale of what it would look like.
Right.
It looked pretty neat. That's where I saw the pictures of the people in the water. Don't do that. So it was like a big place. Right. It was a major point for the war effort. So there were soldiers all around there. I feel like it kind of would be stressful being that lighthouse keeper in that time.
Yeah.
Like definitely. You're in it.
Yes. You're like right in the middle of everything. Chaos. And all you're trying to do is keep the lantern lit and warn people about fog.
Yeah.
And there's a whole war going on around you.
Really, that's what that scream was. Just that person ringing that fog bell for like the 5th day straight.
That's probably it. As far as the children, I know we said that you didn't find maybe like any children that have died on the property.
No.
There were families here. I mean, it could happen. I didn't see any of my research that connected children to like family deaths. And I don't think that if children grew up and went away, they would be haunting it now as children again. Like that's not how child ghosts work. If you don't believe me, check out our St. Augustine children ghost episode. But yeah, I just don't know where the kids are coming from. If they're kids.
I have an inclination that they're not children.
Yeah, which is also like, interesting and like kind of creepy to say, like,
really, that's why the Potomac is so dirty.
Yeah.
It's just demon water.
Demon water. I'm trying to think. I was looking through these pictures because I'm pretty sure I saw something that made me go, So there's been a lot of mediums that have come through here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then like in the 1980s, Sarah Estep attends a seance. So they have held a seance in the lighthouse.
No.
Which I just don't think that you should do in very haunted spaces. Like, I know that people think they're fun and they're cool to do at the sleepovers. Just tie-dye shirts and braid your hair. Like, don't do seances. Don't mess with Ouija boards, and
keep your hands in your pockets.
And if you're a medium, try to close the door whenever you're heading on out. The spiritual door, the physical
close the door on your way out and make sure that you're checking all licenses. Check the licenses before you let anyone in. Like, I don't know. With as much activity that you like, the evidence that you found, and also honestly as much historical significance, like you have a huge hospital that took on Confederate and Union soldiers. The wounds and like injuries from this were gnarly.
Yeah.
Like it was not a pleasant experience. The war, I mean, there's no good war, but this was not a good war.
Right.
And you also have just deplorable conditions up the way, right, as far as like the prisoner of war camp. So plenty of bad energy here.
This is very true.
I'm going to say it's probably haunted.
Yeah, I for sure think that with all the evidence that I found, the EVPs, the photographs, everything that is so well documented, I'm definitely going to say it's haunted.
I was really bummed that I found an entire collection for Point Lookout, like archive wise. And it's like, here's the box that it's in. And I thought it meant like a virtual box. It's not a virtual box. No. It's a real box sitting in the University of Maryland library.
Oh no, come on, Terrapins, let us in.
My heart. I was like, man, one day
we'll go up to Maryland. We'll want to visit family. Like there's a lot of Maryland alumni that I know that could probably get us in, maybe. So we'll open that box and maybe there'll be just.
Well, I was hoping for like individual information, like information on individuals, because I feel like broad history is neat, but when you get down to like people, like actual people that were there, it seemed really cool. But no, I didn't get to see that. I did see in case you are looking for some extra reading, I know your reading list isn't going to be added to this year, but if any of our listeners really like Civil War or the Civil War history, there was a book that looked really good called Hell Comes to Southern Maryland, the story of Point Lookout Prison and Hammond General Hospital. And it's written by Dr. Bradley Gottfried and Linda Gottfried. Dr. Bradley is a retired professor of history. So he's written like 10 books. It had really good reviews as far as being an easy read, but also very interesting and
historically accurate.
Yeah. And giving individual accounts.
Nice.
Of what was going on. So if you're interested in reading a little bit more about that book did look really cool. I did not read it.
And also I would like just to defend myself from slander because I read this Haunted Southern Maryland and Haunted Maryland. So I am reading books, you guys.
So you had time to read those, but you didn't finish Amityville.
Listen.
Oh, there she goes.
I think my problem with Amityville is that like we did all that research on it and then I was listening to it and I was thinking about the Lutzes and I just got like super annoyed.
No, I don't blame you for that.
I just got annoyed thinking about how much money they made off of it and how like they just, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. And if you all don't know what we're talking about, go listen to the episode.
Yes, we're going to plug all of our episodes in this one episode since it's number 10. But yeah, so haunted for both of us, which is nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a solid haunting.
So next week's episode, we're going to be in Massachusetts and we're going to be covering another hospital, which seems to be everybody's favorite topic. I enjoy them.
Yes, me too.
So we can't wait to share all the details with y'all.
Yeah, and I think this week for our sage moments, we're going to be doing a little bit of New Year's resolutions, looking towards 2022. What are yours, Jennifer?
Well, I was going to ask you what yours are, Kristen, because I had them, but they're gone.
Oh, okay. Well, off the top of my head, I don't have anything written down. Off the top of my head, 2022, I want to be more present in the current moment. Not really dwelling on past moments or like worrying too much about like what could happen, just happening in the moment. I think that's really important. I think that sometimes I like kind of let my mind get away from me anxiously, and then I miss out on actually enjoying what's going on around me because I'm too worried about what's going to happen later on. So yeah, doing that and this podcast. I think 2022 is going to be the year for Haunted or Hoax, and I'm excited to see where it goes and want to work really hard at it. I've been having such a blast. You know, what's better than doing a project that you love with your best friend? And I want this to succeed. So in 2022, I'm going to give Haunted or Hoax my all.
Yeah, my thoughts are definitely like partly the podcast. Like this really has been a lot of fun. I know the other day we both got on and we're like, what a crappy day. Yeah. And then by the end of our recording, we were both in like a really solid mood.
Yes.
Like it has been a lot of fun, regardless of like the outcome. It's just a lot of fun looking into stuff and spending time recording with you.
Yeah.
It's a good time. But also my goal for 2022 is not to eat my money.
That's a good one.
I'm going to work really hard at like meal prepping and not eating out all the time.
That is a very good one.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I like to eat out a lot. So
I feel like
that would be hard for me.
I feel like yours was so like inner development and mine's like stop eating so much, Jennifer.
No, but that's also, good and healthy for you and helps save money and
yeah,
it's well intentioned.
Well, best of luck with your New Year's resolutions.
Yes, yeah. If you have any like interesting New Year's resolutions, I might do like an Instagram story
fun, yeah.
asking and see where you guys are trying to head in 2022. So interact with that. I like to see the answers.
Yeah. If you don't know where we are on social media, by the way, you can follow us at Haunted or Hoax Pod on Instagram or H Pod on Twitter and Haunted or Hoax on Facebook. Be sure to go and like the Facebook page though, because we do keep that updated. We put any images, pictures that we talk about on the episode up there so you can see them quickly. But we also let you know when episodes are going to be going out and if there's any delays or anything like that, which luckily has not happened in a while. But we also want to hear about all of your ghost stories. We are kind of booking out the year next year for ghost tours and places that we want to visit. So any suggestions, we've had a couple of people reach out to us and they are absolutely welcomed. But any suggestions that you have as far as where we need to visit or what we need to cover, just go ahead and please send it to hauntedorhoaxpod@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Facebook Messenger and Instagram Messenger. We've had a couple of people kind of touch base with us on there. So if it's easier, just DM us because we love it.
Yeah, I'm always on social media, so you'll probably get a response quickly. And then also don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcast. It is a huge help to get the word out about the podcast. We've gotten some reviews that, make us teary-eyed and heart-warmed. So
give us all the warm and fuzzies.
We love reading the reviews. Also, like I've been teasing, I'm going to keep teasing. We're having something special to do with our review. So make sure you put a review in so you can participate in something that's coming up. Also, Spotify for 2022 has made a new feature that you can actually rate us on Spotify. So if you're on mobile or on Spotify on your computer, there are 3 little dots up at the top, I believe, right corner. And all you have to do is click that and it says rate podcast and you can it's so easy. So if you want to go ahead and rate us on Spotify too, that's a great big help.
Yes. Yeah, but other than that, I hope y'all have a happy new year and we'll be going through it with you.
Yes. Hopefully your hangovers were mild and you have a healthy start to 2022.
And we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.